Hey, what is up, everybody? This is your boy AJTRIP, and welcome to That to Shoot, my weekly episode show. We'll talk about what's going on in the world of professional wrestling. Admittedly, the last few weeks we have not done a few shows, mainly because college football 26 is out, and now college Madden is about to come out next Thursday, actually, right? Next Thursday on the 7th, next Thursday. So, um, we got a lot of things happening. So, um, might be some few and far between that's just shoots here and there. But again, I think when it comes down to later in August, when we get to like the prediction show for NXT Heatwave and then the prediction show for Clash at Paris. Hopefully by then we get into the fall, it'll become more of a weekly thing again. So I thank you guys for understanding and being patient. I did say at the beginning of this year that I wasn't going to force that to shoots. If I had something to talk about, I was going to talk about it and do something like that. Um, and I have something to talk about. We've got SummerSlam this weekend, so we're going to do predictions. But also, the WWE Unreal documentary came out on Netflix this past Tuesday. I have seen all 5 episodes, and I'm gonna take it through you to my review and what I thought about some of the things. I wrote down some notes. This might be a long one, so please bear with me, stay with me here, and we'll get to the predictions right after the WWE Unreal review. All right, so this is broken down into a 5-part documentary, WWE Unreal, showing all the backstage stuff that you want to see. There have been a lot of people that was wondering, like, do I need to see how the sausage is made? Do I need to see how you butcher the pig or you butcher the cow? Sometimes when you, I don't know if this happened to you. I don't know if I ever had this or not. I may have seen this, but sometimes they would show you when you was in school, when you was like younger, grade school, middle school, they would show you a video of like how meat is made and how they kind of slaughter the cow and the pig and things like that, and then they would go through all of the process and things like that, and sometimes it would gross you out. You get sick, and even some people, that's how some people would become vegetarians. They would say that's what happens to the meat. No, thank you. I'll eat I'll eat vegetables. So that's what happened. And so I think a lot of people thought that maybe this is that it is. Like, do we really want to know how this, how we go through this? And I was kind of iffy at it because I do love the backstage stuff, the behind the scenes stuff, and things like that. But I do, like, in the past 5 years, I have wanted more of a kayfabe type of thing, and I don't think you need to go back full kayfabe or anything like that, where because that doesn't work. I truly believe that the breakdown of kayfabe and anything like and wrestling, kind of understanding, being honest about what it is, a predetermined sport, right? Not legitimate competition, but a predetermined sport, and not acting as if it is truly competition. I think that's the reason why it's been so much accepted among some things, even though people may not be fans of it, but like in the 80s and even into the 90s, you would hear people say wrestling, that stuff is fake. That stuff's for um, Southern hicks and things like that. They would all say like that. But now when you say wrestling, they say, oh wow, that's that thing that Dwayne Johnson did before he became a movie star. Okay, yeah, I haven't watched it, but that's cool. Whatever. So it's kind of like that now. Still, you still will get some people that will say, well, it's fake, right? Well, so is Law and Order SVU, but you still watch that, right? So was Game of Thrones. You still watch that, right? So come on. Anyway, so so I think, and by the way, and also one more thing I want to say about this, it's also the reason why last Thursday, when Hulk Hogan passed away, ESPN led off, every sports center with the death of Hulk Hogan. Every sports center that day led off with the passing of Hulk Hogan. And that's because wrestling is so much accepted. And wrestlers and anything like that. We had Rhea Ripley, Randy Orton were doing promos on First Take. Triple H was on First Take yesterday. Cody Rhodes was supposed to be on First Take today. It's 10:30. I don't know if he's coming or not. He may have, so he may do it or something. I'm not sure, but obviously I'm doing this. So, but anyway, he may be on tomorrow actually when you really need to do this. And I apologize for any noise in the background. We've got people doing the leaf blower, I guess, and things like that. So you may hear this in the sound. I hope you can hear me. I apologize. I do these, I can't help when they want to do the thing, and I have to do this thing now because I have other things to do. So I'm sorry for the noise in the background. Anyway, so I've always wanted a little bit more kayfabe, things like that. Maybe not just be truly too open with it and things like that. So I was kind of iffy about this, but again, once I started watching it, I loved it. I loved the stuff they showed, things like that. I think I don't think anything they did in this show was scripted. I think it was truly. I think the confessionals were real. I think the stuff that they showed that was real. I think I think they showed the ice show speed stuff, and I think that was maybe the only scripted part. But again, you saw the backstage part of that. They kind of showed how it was going to happen, and they were going to have ice show speed talking with Stephanie McMahon, and they were going to Kira Cesaro was going to get knocked cold, and he could be out on his feet, and they were going to put ice show speed into the thing, and we had the backstage shots of ice show speed getting speared, and there was always this talk about make sure he's okay, make sure Speed okay, and Speed was, I think he was again this may have been some part where they were might have been a little scripted because Speed had something gash on his leg, but when he was walking backstage he was still kind of like in a daze, so who knows, he might have still been selling, still trying to keep kayfabe as they would say, so who knows, but yeah. So anyway, let's start. The first episode is New Era. And in this new era, we get some things, right? We see Triple H. We learn about Triple H. Never realized that. Rhea Ripley comes up first, and we get her name. Now, listen, I am uncomfortable knowing the real names of these people. I just am. I don't like the fact that I know CM Punk's real name is Phil Brooks. I don't like the fact that I know that Jey Uso's real name is Joshua Fatu. Jimmy's is Jonathan Fatu. Joe Anawahi for Roman. I don't like it, but sometimes you put it in part of the story to make it more real or anything like that. So Rhea Ripley, her real name, I'm not going to say her real name because it's not known. If you watch the documentary, you'll find out. She actually kind of has like a very common name, I feel like. It's not common, but it's just normal. It's like CM Punk with Phil Brooks. It's just a normal name. Phil, when CM Punk talked about, did his little speak later on in the documentary, he said it's an accountant's name. And Rhea Ripley's real name, it's just like it'd be like someone. It's like a nurse, blah blah blah. So yeah. So we get her name, we get some of the stuff talking about her, things like that. We get Cody, and Cody talking about him again. We know his real name, Cody Reynolds. We know that Cody Rhodes. And we stuff about Cody and being the quarterback and all that stuff. We go into the Netflix debut, and we talk about, the stuff that was going on with Netflix, how they were going to go about it, things that are going to happen. We break down the CM Punk return, and it's the stuff that CM Punk and Triple H have talked about before. The CM Punk wanting to come back. And this has been like this was almost like a 3 strikes and you're out thing. The Triple H said that they've had talks twice before, and Triple H said no, same guy, he's not gonna work. But then finally that third time after the AEW thing happened, they talked and they realized it's a different guy. And again, I think some people think that CM Punk is disingenuous, or some people think CM Punk is being fake, or if he's selling out, whatever. I just think CM Punk has grown up. CM Punk is a different man. Now, I've said this before. I think CM Punk can be at times a bitter and petty man. And yes, maybe being bitter and petty is a reason why he's now in WWE, right? But it also might be because of the fact that he never really wanted to go. He never really wanted to go. He always wanted to be in WWE, but the stuff that was going on at the time, he felt the need he had to go. And then when they released him on his wedding day, he said, "Oh, well, fuck them. I'm gonna go score dirt." And he did that podcast, and he would talk about them in the press like a dog shit anytime he could. And he did that for years. Because I think he was petty and bitter. But I think he seems like a different man now, and I think you can change. So we talk about the kickoff on Netflix and things like that. I want to make sure I don't go. Yeah, okay. So they talk about the kickoff on Netflix and things like that, and they show one of the great things in the documentary. They show down the gorilla position, and they show how it's broken down, and who sits where, and where it sits, and it's always a thing that is created. And they talk about why it's called the gorilla position and everything like that. If you don't know, it's great stuff. We get to hear what the ref hears. Right? We get to hear what the ref hears. So they talk about the ref and things like that. So they're always talking to the ref, and we noticed that they talk in the back. The guys in the back are talking to the refs, letting them know what they need to do and what, things like that. Are they okay? And so we get something that I think it's the Braun Strowman, Jacob Fatu last man standing match, and Triple H is on the thing to the ref, asking Daphne LaShawn, the African American ref, the black woman ref, asking her, is Jacob okay? Is Jacob okay? And she checks on him, and she would come back into it. She tells him he's just fine. He's just selling. So that was another great part that you can see. Fantastic, loved it. Now during that match, Jacob pushed a fan, and Triple H and what's his face, Bruce Pritchard, lose their shit. Don't push fans. What are you doing? You can't push the fans. And then I think somebody realizes those are the extras. So, the fan was an extra. So, something like that. But so it's one of those big things. They were showing the homes again. This was about the debut on Netflix. I.e., by the title of the show is called The New Era, and they were showing CM Punk's home in Los Angeles, and it was either CM Punk's home or it was an Airbnb. If it was an Airbnb, that's fine, and I can understand that. And I actually think that's smart for people like CM Punk and others. Instead of getting hotel rooms when they go on the road, if you can find an Airbnb, you should do that. Because unfortunately, there are crazy fans out here, as we've seen with Liv Morgan, Sonya Deville, Mandy Rose, Roxanne Perez as of late, Oscar as well. That these people are crazy, and they would do what they can to try to get an autograph or just meet their favorite wrestler. Or again, it might be so crazy to think that they are in a relationship with them and they might fall in love with them. So I'm kind of uncomfortable showing people's homes. They did that with Cody as well in their home. But if that was an Airbnb that CM Punk was in, then that's okay. If that's his Los Angeles home, I don't know. But again, a little bit uncomfortable. But hey, whatever. He was comfortable enough to bring him in there and do the behind the scenes stuff. So they're doing all that, and they're walking with CM Punk, and then they're doing the Netflix stuff. They also showed like how going back to on the kickoff at Netflix. When CM Punk and Seth Rollins, they were showing the backstage stuff, and the writer was telling Punk, telling Punk how it's gonna go down. You're gonna do this and say this. And then you're gonna get in their face, and you're gonna push him away, right? So that was it. So he did that, and so doing that, Bruce Pritchard talks about, he says that people think because we're on Netflix that we can just have anything. The time doesn't matter. But no, that's not the case. He said, no, that's not the case. And this was, next for the day, they went long. And Abyss was the producer. And they went long, and so they had to cut various things from the match, apparently, because they went long. And they were trying to get it under the time. And I guess it just went few minutes over, or anything like that. And Abyss he was in a sweat. And then the match was over. They kind of went to the thing. And you can see that he was apologizing to Bruce, and Bruce was like, it's okay. He asked, was he mad, and he wasn't. And then then Abyss went to William Regal, and he said, I just, I'm just trying my best. I want to make this guy happy. And Regal was like, you're doing a great job. And there was something there, and there are some people on the internet that are like, they are kind of like, getting upset at Bruce Pritchard for kind of, I guess maybe taking the task. If you have a time, you need your time. And that's one of the things, the first thing they said. The first thing they said when it comes to it is hit your times. Don't go over. And they even did something where I think it was some match, I don't know what I'm talking about, but it was like, how many minutes we got left? And like we got 3. So wow, we've we got a lot more than we than we need. Okay. So and then it went back. So those are the type of things. But yeah, and so the first episode I thought was amazing. And love the stuff about the gorilla position and everything like that. Some great stuff. Learning some of the backstage, behind the scenes stuff of what happened on that Netflix debut and things like that. So I enjoyed the first one. I really did. I enjoyed all of them, but I think the first one was really good. It was a really good kickoff to the doc. The next episode was Push, and here we get into the push. The push, pretty much of Jey Uso. This is mostly what this is about. Um, um, we start with Jey Uso not being able to get into the building. I think this was the Saturday Night Main Event when he was wrestling Gunther. He can't get into the thing. He can't get into the arena. And they talk about Tully Blanchard and all of the legends, but he can't get into the ring. He can't get into the thing. And then Mark Henry's behind me. He votes for you. Yeah, he'll vote for me. So and they kind of let him go. And it was just like Jesus Christ. They reminisce on WrestleMania 40 and Cody. And Cody getting the push, and Cody being the guy. And so they talk about, and they talk a little bit about Cody like this, and we get some behind the scenes stuff on the Saturday Night's Main Event. When Cody pile drive, when Cody wins, he gets killed almost, but he gets the package pile driver. from Kevin Owens, and even to the point to where you get the Triple H thing with Kevin Owens and getting them up this, and then backstage we see Triple H like, hey bro, I was going out there and then I saw you, so I just decided to do some stuff. So it was fine. So during the second one, we get some issues here, and I think we also get some really interesting stuff here on Jey Uso, and maybe some more into it, and maybe some more insight into why Jey Uso only had a 51-day reign. We may get into that, I think, as it gets into the thing, but Jay talks about getting gas in promos and matches, saying that he was tag team guy for so long that he just got tired. He would tag in his brother, but now he doesn't get that, and he doesn't do that, right? And so he gets gas in the promo, and cause he has this it's so long, elaborate entrance that he's doing all of the yeeting and things like that for forever, and then he goes again and yeets some more, so he gets gas. So they're talking about the Royal Rumble in the writers' meeting, and most people say Punk should win. If somebody says that John Cena should win, it's things like that, and last year he should win the Royal Rumble. Michael Hayes, he steps up and he wants to, well, why not Jey Uso? And he's talking about that Jey Uso is hot, and he's like one of the biggest things in the WWE right now. So why wouldn't you make him the guy? And here's the thing with me, right? When many people were picking, they were picking the likes of Punk and Cena to win the Royal Rumble. I picked Jey Uso. Now, obviously, I was wrong. Even though they picked Jey Uso, I was wrong because I thought that this had been decided a long time ago. I kept talking about going back to France, when the French people brought out the Fireflies with Jey Uso, and they had that amazing entrance. That's when I thought that that's when I thought that Triple H at that point said, that's the guy that's going to win the Rumble. But actually, it wasn't. So he kind of had to be, coaxed into it. So that's a very interesting one. And then we get the clip. Triple H talking to Jey Uso and says, talking to Jey, he wants to make sure thing, and that's when he says, I'm gonna strap the rocket to you. And he says, and Jey says, yes, I want it, thank you, I appreciate it. So we get some stuff like that. After the package file driver, Cody Rhodes does a signing in a neck brace, totally old school. I told you earlier, kayfabe, love it. We get behind the scenes of the Cody KO match at the Royal Rumble. We even get the aftermath when Kevin Owens is talking to Cody Rhodes. He's talking about what went down in the match, and that, making sure that he was okay. When this man just went head first into a ladder bridge, cut himself wide open, and also don't forget, like, I believe that he still had the neck issue. I think he got the neck issue before that match, and he still wrestled that match, a few other matches on television maybe, and then the whole thing with Sami Zayn at Elimination Chamber. So we get some behind the scenes of that, which is cool, and we get the behind the scenes of Jey Uso winning the Rumble and things like that. So that's great. So the second episode push was getting really good. I enjoyed that one as well. The third one's called Worth the Wait. So here we're talking about Bianca Belair. Again, we get her real name. Something like that, some stuff about her. And we get Chelsea Green. And we get some behind the scenes about her. Chelsea Green is our real name, so it's nothing uncomfortable. If you're willing to use your real name, then I don't think you can get uncomfortable about that. She said she has 30 sets of gear that she never had worn twice, which is amazing. She's from Vancouver, and Survivor Series was in Vancouver, and she didn't get on the card, unfortunately. But she had tons of friends and family there, and she was up in the thing. She talks about her getting 2 broken arms. She had had her first match in NXT. She had her arm broken. Then she had another match. She came from back from that arm break. She had a match on like SmackDown during the Thunderdome. She gets her arm broken. Then she didn't get released. And when she was released, and then I guess once Vince McMahon left, she texted Triple H that she wanted her job back, and Triple H gave her job back. Triple H brought back a lot of people that Vince fired, and I think that was a good thing. Now he has fired a few of those people that he brought back, Dakota Kai and the Good Brothers and a few others, I think. But yeah, he brought them back. So then we kind of fast forward to the Saturday night's main event back in January, where she's having a match with Meechin for the Women's United States Championship final. And what they wanted the finish to be was her doing a second rope leg drop for the finish. And she was like, I'll do it, but I don't want that to be the finish. And when she practiced it, she said, see, I peed a little bit. Which is, we get a couple conversations about bodily fluids in this documentary that I don't know, but things like that. Yeah, and she was like, and so she fought for the finish to be the unpretty her. She fought for it, and if you remember, that was the finish, and it was a pretty awesome finish too, because she went from the top rope, rolled through in the corner, and then hit the unpretty her on Meechin to win. Charlotte Flair's in this one. We get Charlotte Flair. We get her real name. We know that as well. So she talks about her expectations are high for her because she's Ric Flair's daughter, that she almost has to be perfect. You go into the knee injury where she missed WrestleMania 40 and everything like that. And they go into that, and they want to make sure that there's something that they get down to. Now here's the thing. I don't know. Now, like I said, they had a lot of footage here from past. Like they had footage of Charlotte Flair going into surgery. So I don't know if this is like something from like a documentary, or if this was actually done. Like they realized what they were gonna do. Because again, like I said, they're talking to Chelsea Green at Survivor Series. They're talking to her at Survivor Series. 2024, back in November. They have footage from talking to Charlotte going back before WrestleMania 40 to when she actually had her surgery. So I don't know if they were already doing documentaries or something like that, or if this was, or even going all the way back then, they knew that they were going to do something about the behind the scenes of things. So I don't know, but that's interesting that they got footage going all the way back to in 2023 when Charlotte going in for her knee surgery. So they're talking about like the Royal Rumble now, and they're going into the Women's Royal Rumble. They had a picture for the Women's Royal Rumble. Who was going to win that? And Ed Koskey, one of the VPs, one of Triple H's right-hand man, he pitches a thing of number 29 comes out, and they're in the ring with somebody else, and there's a double elimination. And so means the number 30th is the action winner, and number 30 will be Chelsea Green. Now they didn't go that direction, obviously. But that's a tremendous booking thing. And again, there are still things they have not done in the Rumble that I think they can do, and especially now since they do a men's and a women's Royal Rumble, that I think they can do. Now, in 2000, they did the thing with Brock Lesnar where he was dominant. He eliminated everybody until Drew McIntyre got in there, and then Ricochet got in there, and then they kind of did a combined thing where they were able to get out of Brock Lesnar. That's one of the things they still need to do, is to have somebody come in from 1 or 2 and just dominate the entire Rumble. Like that. And, you know, they've got 3 guys on this roster that they can do that with. They've got almost, but we know that's not going to happen. Because they don't treat giants like they really treat giants anymore. And almost hasn't even been on television. There's Braun Breaker. And I think that would be interesting to do that with Braun Breaker. That would be a really interesting thing. And then there's Obafemi. And that's the one I can really see them doing that with. If they wanted to make a big time superstar, they would have Obafemi come out as the #1 entrant into the Royal Rumble and throw out everybody. Meaning he throws out all 29 men himself. He has the record, and nobody else is ever going to throw out more than 29 men. And here's the thing. Now, will some people say that's boring? Will some people say that's that's not good? Maybe, because some people didn't like the fact that Brock Lesnar was running through half the roster. But once he got it cut out, then they kind of looked back on it. Yeah, that was actually a good. Looked back and said, yeah, it actually was a good booking move depending on how they got to it. With Drew McIntyre winning. So that's what they. So I think the same thing happens with that. They can do that with that. And then there's this booking one, which I have in the past thought about something like that. That would be very interesting. Never thought they would do it, but now that the guy has come up with it, and even though they've showed it, they can still do it. They can still do it. Sure, we'll all know because of the WWE Unreal documentary that this was, done, but they can do it. They can do it in a couple years. I think it would be interesting. But now we're at the Rumble, and we're at, now we're doing the women's as we did the men's with Jay. And Tiffany introduces herself to Charlotte, which, for what we know, what happens between Charlotte and Tiffany, it's a very interesting thing to see. And we'll get to that, and we'll get to that later on in another episode as well. So Chelsea Green has a cracked nose, so they've been telling all the girls, not in the Rumble, not to hit her on one side of the face, because if they hit her on one side of the face, she's gonna have to have surgery and she's gonna be out, and they don't want that. So then once we do that, now we start talking about a couple other things, and we get into the Naomi and Jade saga, and we talk about that and how that happens, and Jade has an injury. So once we once we have an injury, how are we going to introduce it? And we talk about Naomi, and then we get the women's elimination chamber behind the scenes. Some good stuff working on there, because and we get to all of that. We get the match, and we realize that Bianca Belair has won. She's won the elimination chamber, and now she's going on to WrestleMania. Third episode, again, very good. Fourth episode, heel turn. So now we're getting into the beginning of this heel turn and the I want your soul stuff. We get talked about 2 things here. So we get the stuff about the soul and things like that, and we get Nick Khan talking about things like this, and he kind of basically says the same thing that The Rock said, right? That the Toronto economy was down, and there wasn't a lot of tickets being sold, so they wanted to have something up, so they called it The Rock, to run The Rock to it. So, and then they tried to figure out, what was going to happen. and how they were going to use The Rock and everything like that. Then we get into John Cena's retirement speech, and we talk about that and how that, and then we even get to the thing where one of the questions in the press conference was, talking about somebody asked him, "Well, we're going to see John Cena embrace his dark side," and John Cena says, "I don't really know if that's really the right thing to do because of this situation." So we talk about that. We get an intro into Michael Hayes. Who again, that's not his real name. He has another name, but his name is Michael Hayes. He's also known as Doc Hendricks. So we talk some stuff about, and he talks about being heel back in the day, and of course his feud with the Von Erichs is legendary, with him and the Freebirds against the Von Erichs. He talked about he made a lot of money looking up at the lights, taking the victory because he was the heel, and the heel needed to be beat. So. And we get a theme from Xavier Woods, which again, and we get his real name, which is different from Austin Creed. I was wondering, I kind of thought Austin Creed was his real name, but it wasn't. So, and we get into the behind the scenes of the New Day heel turn, and we even get some good footage of when they were in Atlanta, and it was Xavier Woods' family had the New Day Sucks t-shirts. And because then once Rey Mysterio beats him, he goes out to hit down the family, and you hear the dad say, "I didn't raise him like that. I didn't raise him like that." So even the family's working. Good on the family for working. Working. I love it. So we get Brian Gewirtz, who is one of The Rock's closest allies in what he does. Since they called in The Rock, that means that Brian Gewirtz gets called in. And he was a WWE producer, head writer actually for a decade, I think 2002 to 2012 he said. So he claims that what they pitched was for the Saturday night's main event where Cody Rhodes is paralyzed, that he pitched that no, that's a different thing. So I'm sorry about that. But what Brian Gewirtz claims is that they pitched was that he would offer Cody, The Rock would offer to want Cody, so Cody would debunk him, and then because he's The Rock, he would make it an impromptu title match between him and Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens. And Kevin Owens would be the quote unquote corporate champion. And that's a little bit different from what The Rock pitched. But from what The Rock pitched, he talked about it being, Cody being heel and Cody turning heel. So a little bit different from what, and a lot different from reports as well. So we get a tremendous breakdown of what happened at the Elimination Chamber, and we get the stuff about how Triple H, what Triple H needed to do, and I guess they were always going to have Travis Scott there, but then they involved Travis Scott in it, and it's just, when you look back and watch it, you just wonder why. You still wonder why is he there. And now knowing that Travis Scott and WWE have kind of had a falling out, it almost makes it again like it's almost like if hindsight being 2020, right? Maybe they shouldn't have had Travis Scott there and have Travis Scott be a part of this. So, but anyway, so we get some stuff about the Elimination Chamber, and Punk calls Elimination Chamber the stupidest match that WWE does, and he's hilarious. It's amazing, and really, to be honest with you, since now that they do War Games, you don't really need to do the Elimination Chamber, or at least you don't need to do it every year. Right? The Elimination Chamber should almost be Hell in a Cell, but Triple H is trying to make Hell in a Cell a bigger type thing, I would do that with the Elimination Chamber. You don't need to do an Elimination Chamber match every year. Now, I don't think you can make build up to it and make it have it happen on a special thing, special thing here and there. But I don't think it needs to be an every year event. And I definitely doesn't think it needs to be. Well, I think the women can do it, but I don't think you need to do 2 ones. That's the one thing I do think. I don't think you need to do 2 of everything just because the men does one and the women does one. 2 rumbles, I understand. 2 war games, I understand it because they're just doing war games. One could argue that maybe the war games as well should be just when you have. It should be war games should only happen when you have, the 8 guys coming together and they can't get on. Like, I don't know. So, and then that's when you do war games. Some people would say that's the way it should be done. And again, just like the Nation Chamber, you don't have to do it both times, but that's neither here nor there. So again, we get a great thing of of them talking about the ring. Yeah, it's Drew, it's Priest, it's Logan, it's Seth, it's Punk, and it's Cena. And they're in it, I think, with Triple H and maybe a couple of agents, and they're going over what the match should be. And we hear Punk going over the finish, and he's talking about that, he's fighting for it, and Seth gives him the stomp, and that allows John Cena to lock in the STFU. And so that was very interesting. Now, here's the thing. I also saw this online as well. I've seen some things where they've said, "Hey, look, Punk and Seth, they're working themselves out. They really don't like each other." No, that just means they're being professional. I think that they have a professional relationship, but they have no personal relationship. And I don't think Seth Rollins was lying when he told Daniel Cormier on ESPN before WrestleMania, promoting WrestleMania, that he just doesn't have any time for Punk. What happened in the past is the past, and he's just not going to get over it. Now, I think at some point he will. I think 20 years, because they all do. All the people who have heat, at some point down the line, they do get over it, and they become, if not friends, they become at least acquaintances. And when they see each other, they can shake hands, give the bro hug, and things like that. Ask how the family's doing. We've seen it with everybody. So everybody who's had heat, that happens. The only people is not going to happen with is Jim Cornette and Vince Russo. That's probably the only group of people that's not going to happen with. 20 years from now, they're not going to bro hug it out. Jim Cornette is still going to try to go after Vince Russo with a baseball bat. So then we talk about the behind the scenes of the whole heel turn, with them including Travis Scott. Again, we get a clip of Triple H and The Rock going over it, and how and we also going over what's going to happen and how it's going to go about. And then we even get Triple H talking about that it's the only people who know are the people involved. So the only people who knew were The Rock, Cody, Travis Scott, Nick Khan, Triple H. Those were and John Cena. Those were the only ones who knew. Michael Hayes was told the day of. He was told the day of. But I think Bruce Pritchard was as well. They were told the day of that it's going down. And then when the Elimination Chamber match happens, Triple H then goes on to the director and he says, "Okay, I'm taking over. Okay, we're gonna have some stuff happening here, and so I'm going to take over, and I'm going to give you the shots and things like that. So just follow my lead." And Triple H is doing the directing, and because he knows what's happening, and then we get the whole thing with Travis Scott coming out first, and The Rock coming out, doing the whole thing. We're talking about the whole Cena turn, things like that. And there's a big thing that we're talking about, the whole thing. And they stay in the truck. So Cody's gonna say, "Rock, go fuck yourself. Let it through," which means don't dump it. And so then the guy goes, "Okay, guys, don't dump." When the guy says, "Okay, guys, don't dump it," So then we get the, "Hey, Rock, go fuck yourself." We get that, and we get a bro hug, as we've seen already. As we all know, the bro hug, the Cena face turn, the Rock slap, and we get the whole heel turn and things like that. And we get the behind the scenes stuff, and then we get the stuff from Travis Scott, which made me think that something was that Travis Scott was, because he was so geeked to be out there, so happy to be a part of it. And again, as we know, during that match, Travis Scott slapped Cody Rhodes, so much so that it burst an eardrum. It bursted his eardrum. And guess what? Travis Scott called Cody Rhodes to check up on him. And Cody Rhodes, being a true professional, knowing that this is a part of the business. Was great, very gracious. Thanked Travis Scott for being there, and said that as things happen, if you get in the ring more, if you need any help, just let me know. True professional. And so all those people out there who were so upset, it was at Travis Scott being there, and Travis Scott slapping Cody Rhodes. Even Cody Rhodes was okay with it. He understands the business. So I think in that situation, in that case, you're upset about Travis Scott slapping Cody Rhodes. It probably was okay. You probably should get over that. As for Travis Scott being there altogether, again, hindsight being 2020, probably should not have happened. But that was episode 4, Heel Turn. And then another great episode. And the final episode was WrestleMania. There are questions about Jey Uso from Creative, and they're talking about the gas. There's some talk about that, the dive. He was so gassed he couldn't hit the dive, And if you guys even remember, what they started to do was they started to they started to do a storyline where, he's so caught up, so he's so nervous and caught up that they even had him slip going for a spear on Gunther, which Gunther was able to catch him in. And that led to, of course, the next week, the tremendous angle where it's Jimmy Uso versus Gunther, and Gunther zip ties Jey to the ring, and Jimmy, and he eviscerates Jimmy and just busts him wide open, and still to this day, it's an image that is ingrained in me, and it's something you can't get over because of how it was done. Great moments in this year. And to a little bit of a note here, even though Jey Uso won and things like that, I still think that he didn't get a lot of revenge for that. The revenge for taking his title, but he should have whooped Gunther's ass. So I still think maybe that should come at some point. I really do. But I don't know, it may not be. So I mentioned earlier that I just talked about the questions about Jey from Creative, and so they're talking about the dot, and then they talk about, but is this something that we need to do, and is it something that he needs to work on? He needs to work on not getting gassed, and not being there. And they decided to put the title on him anyway, but you have to wonder if even with Jey Uso says, in the clip, later on in the clip when he after he wins the championship, he says, "It's been 2 minutes and I'm just still got like the nerves or the ticks." I don't know how I forget the word he uses, but it's like he's still still going nuts, and it makes me wonder if this is like 2004 Eddie Guerrero. No Way Out 2004. Eddie Guerrero beats Brock Lesnar to become the WWE champion. And Eddie Guerrero was succumbing to the pressure of being the WWE champion. So much so that in that match with JBL, that infamous match, where JBL hits Eddie Guerrero with a chair, and Eddie Guerrero loses pints of blood. So much so that he has to be hospitalized. He did such a deep blade job that it went from the Muda scale to the Guerrero scale. You know, and he lost so much blood. And Vince and the creator back then said that thought that he just wasn't so ready yet. So the next month, they took the title off of Eddie Guerrero because of that reason. And it took a little while for Eddie Guerrero to get back to being ready, and unfortunately, he was ready to become a champion again. And I'm not sure, they had plans for WrestleMania 22 for it to be Shawn Michaels and Eddie Guerrero, a face versus face match that would, probably be one of the greatest matches of WrestleMania in WrestleMania history. And then I think they were gonna catapult that into putting one of the titles back onto Eddie Guerrero. But unfortunately, we lost Eddie, in that November of 2005, 2005, excuse me, and they never succumbed. So, and I wonder if that's what happened here with Jey Uso and Gunther, because a 51-day reign is not strapping the rocket to Jey Uso as they said. But maybe they saw that Jey Uso was still gassed doing promos. Maybe he was still getting kind of gassed during the matches. And they kind of just said, well, listen, we've got this match with Gunther coming up with Goldberg in his retirement match. Maybe if we put the title on Gunther, not only are we going to get maybe take some eyes away from AEW's All In, but also maybe it'll light another fire on the Jay saying, hey, come on now, get your shit together. You're one of the most overstars, if not the most overstar in this company. You want another championship one? Get your shit together. And maybe that is. And maybe that is the case. Who knows? But I found that very interesting, knowing that now Jey Uso only had a 50-something day odd reign, and maybe that was the case. They get into the whole thing in Chicago with Charlotte, and Charlotte admits she was rattled. The Chicago crowd got her rattled somehow. They got her off her game, and she couldn't think 2 or 3 steps ahead of what she normally would be able to do with a crowd like that and things like that. Then of course we get the unscripted thing from Tiffany, where she talks about her being 0-3, and then she points at her ring. That's something that I didn't see at first. I know she said what she said, but I didn't see her pointing at the ring. At her ring finger. So that was interesting. Then because we get the Kaiser and her DMs thing and everything like that. So we get a little backstage thing where they talked about it, and somebody comes up and says that Charlotte's in her dressing room crying because Tiffany said that line, and Triple H says, "Listen, go tell Tiffany to apologize to Charlotte, because we can't be having that." And listen, understandably so. A couple weeks before then, Charlotte may have given it to Tiffany in that face-to-face, via satellite interview, and she may have made Tiffany look bad during that. Um, yeah, and maybe that's not okay, but it's definitely not okay what Tiffany did to Charlotte. Um, Without it being okay. Now there have been reports that it was scripted, and she was supposed to say that. We obviously know now that it wasn't, because Charlotte had her feelings hurt, and um and Tiffany admits it, that she said that line at the end. And then that was unscripted. So you can't be doing that. There's a whole bunch of talk about what's going to go down in the main event of WrestleMania, and things like that the first night. And Hunter comes up about um, uh, talking about Steph maybe still in Paul Heyman, because we're doing the thing with Punk, and Heyman with Roman, and they come up with the thing maybe Steph should be the one with Paul Heyman. On the day of WrestleMania, we get a little funny thing about cheating in the ring between Ivar and Adam Pearce, CM Punk, and Charlotte Flair and T.J. Wilson, and the boys are talking about it. And then Charlotte's in there with T.J. going over kind of her match with Tiffany, and Tiffany's not there though. So then Punk goes to Charlotte. You ever shit yourself? Charlotte goes, no. I might have peed a little bit, but I never shit myself. So, and then they also talk about how, I guess, like, they did something where Triple H took a Snickers bar, melted it, and threw it at Jericho in a match. And so, it's insane. But a very interesting, kind of funny, behind the scenes thing to see. So we get the behind the scenes of the matches between Jay and Gunther. And we also see people like cheering for Jay. The New Day, who have obviously been great friends with the Usos and Jay, things like that. We get Sammy's there. We know Sammy's an honorary member of the honorary White family. Kevin Owens was there as well. When Jay wins, they are excited, and they, things like that. They can't wait. We even get Triple H backstage talking about, Jay's earned this, and Jay worked it out, things like that. So that was good to see. We get things of Charlotte and Tiffany. Then and that match, and I still can't figure out what happened to Tiffany's teeth. Some people are saying that there was blood on the teeth. Some people are saying that maybe her, I guess she has fake teeth because Triple H asked her about her teeth. She said no, they're fake. So I guess she has veneers. I don't know, maybe her veneers came off or something like that. So, and then so who knows what was there. But after the match, Charlotte checked up on her, and they were fine. They did the hug, things like that. So even though they had, again, I think this is coming like maybe a CM Punk, Seth Rollins type of thing, where maybe they're never going to be friends, at least right now because of what went down. But they were professional enough, and they were good enough that they cared about each other. And Charlotte and Tiffany thanks Charlotte for doing this, because Charlotte put her over, tried to make Tiffany Stratton, and in some ways she did. Now a lot of people don't like the match. I thought the match was fine for what it was. I gave it like 3 and some odd stars or whatever it was. But some people didn't like the match, thought it was boring, but I thought it was okay. Okay enough. Punk gets very emotional about the WrestleMania main event. Before the match, Triple H goes out there. He almost give him the same pep talk he gave Undertaker. And if you ever see like it's there. I don't know. I think it's in the Last Ride documentary. I also think it's other documentaries. But Undertaker, he was having some doubts about him, about himself, things like that. And then during the WrestleMania 31 Bray Wyatt match that he was gonna have, Triple H, before that, Triple H went to the Undertaker and he fired him off and said, "You know who the fuck you are? You are the Undertaker. Go out there and do it." And he kind of gave that match to CM Punk. He said, "You're fucking CM Punk. You are worthy of this main event. You go out there and you do it." And Punk was just really emotional thing. And again, I think it really shows the maturity that has happened with CM Punk and how CM Punk is a different person. I really do. I really think, for anybody out there that thinks that CM Punk is a hypocrite, CM Punk, I really think you're totally wrong about this. You're just totally wrong, and you really need to grow up. You need to grow up. Michael Hayes produced Night One main event, as he has produced most of Roman's matches over the past 5 years. And his stuff was incredible, and he was there producing the guy, and it went off so good. Like I said, I felt that it was the best match of the night. Totally the night, but best match of WrestleMania weekend. Really, because of the emotion and the storytelling, I thought it was tremendous. So we had that. We get into night 2. We get into this. Triple H is also has to kind of beat up, poke up Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley mentions him that WrestleMania 40 she had a panic attack 2 hours before the show. But this one she was a little bit more calm, but she was still nervous. And it is very obvious that Triple H believes that Rhea Ripley is his golden goose. That Rhea Ripley is you're the best doing it right now. He said that to her. You're the best doing it right now. He said that to Rhea Ripley. He said it before the match, then he said it afterwards as well. So I think it's very obvious Triple H sees Rhea Ripley as maybe his #1 star. I think he sees her in that fashion. And the match was incredible. Now I gave the match 4 3/4 stars. I should probably go ahead and bump that up to the full Monty and give it the full 5 stars, because I do think it was an incredible match. I don't think it was better than the Night 1 main event because of the storytelling, but it was still a tremendous match between Io and Rhea and Bianca. And we got some stuff with Bianca and Rhea into this. We didn't get some stuff from Io, and I don't know if that's because Io, obviously the language barrier. Because when they have Io talk, they don't have Io talk for a long time. She speaks in almost phrases because of the accent and things like that. And maybe because sometimes it doesn't translate, but it's interesting like that. And then we get the behind the scenes of the WrestleMania Night 2 main event and everything like that with Travis Scott and everything like that. And again, Travis Scott afterwards he's excited. He says that he's going to have to quit the rap game, make this his full-time job. And again, Triple H hears it and says, I hear that. So it's amazing to how that was, to have Travis Scott be talking about having that become his full-time job. And to the point to where we got to where he may have heat with the people in the WWE because he couldn't grasp what they do in wrestling, and he's just he's just wishy-washy. Apparently, that's what the report from Dave Meltzer said, that he's just wishy-washy. He says one thing, he says he's going to do one thing, and then 3 weeks later, he doesn't want to do it anymore. So, and that's just how Travis Scott kind of is. So, and that's the end of the 5th episode of WrestleMania. My thoughts about this I think this is a tremendous documentary. I think it's a good documentary for wrestling fans. I think this is also a good documentary to show wrestling people who aren't wrestling fans. So watch this documentary. I think you enjoy it. 5 episodes. You can, if you have free time on the weekend, 4 or 5 hours, you can get a, you can get it done. You can binge it and get it done. And I think this is the kind of shit that turns people into fans. I've heard a lot of people say that they're not a big wrestling people, but they watched the McMahon documentary and it was very interesting. It was very amazing to see and to watch, and it made them a little more interested in the wrestling business. So yeah. So my review, I thought this was incredible. If I'm going to give it a star rating, I would say it's a truly 4.5-star documentary. I think I would have liked more stuff creatively about maybe some of the other stuff that went down creatively. Now there was something going on online when it first dropped on Tuesday. There was some pictures going around online about they had like the what was going to happen on WrestleMania, what they wanted to do at their original plans. I would have liked to have seen more of that. I liked seeing the meetings about stuff. I love that they were in the writers' room in Stamford when they were going through their meeting talking about what was going to happen. I would love to see more of that with more of the thing. I know they went with like the main event players, Bianca and Rhea and Jay and Cody and things like that. So and obviously of course Cena and those folks. So I understand they went there, but I would have also liked to have seen some of like the lowest of like how did they come up with like how did they do stuff with maybe like LA Knight and Jacob or anything like that. So I thought this was awesome documentary. I would love to see an Unreal Part 2, and maybe and maybe they can also do maybe a little bit more, and maybe they are filming Unreal 2. I'd like to see it because I think again, I think this is a good time to start, and hopefully maybe if they are doing it, they have started. And again, it can go to WrestleMania, and we'll get Unreal 2 next summer. So that would be kind of interesting for me. But I thought this was an amazing documentary. So yeah, an hour plus into this video. I knew this was going to be a long video because I was going to have to do this review, and I had a lot of thoughts that I think I just couldn't like skirt by, and I had to kind of talk about. So I knew this was going to be long, and I could have done 2 videos, but no. So what is going to happen is I'm going to skirt by on these predictions. I'm going to usually I go in depth into the predictions. I don't want to try to make this video even as long as possible because it'll be a 2-hour video for this. And I don't know about this. So we'll talk about the matches, and we'll do WrestleMania Saturday and we'll do WrestleMania Sunday, and so yeah, that's coming up next, the predictions. But once again, if you have not watched it, it'll be Unreal and you were shaky about it, I would advise you to go watch it. Really cool documentary. Okay, so let's do these predictions. Let's as John Wooden would say, let's be quick but not in a hurry. So WrestleMania, let's go start with not WrestleMania Saturday, SummerSlam Saturday. Let's start with Sami Zayn versus Karrion Kross. I'm picking Karrion Kross here. Even though he's not signed a contract or anything like that, he said that this is his dream job. So I think he'll probably resign here, and I think he'll beat Sami Zayn. Would that lead to a Sami Zayn heel turn? No, I don't expect Sami Zayn to turn heel at all. At least not right now. So I think Karrion Kross wins this match. Jelly Roll and Randy Orton taking on Logan Paul and Drew McIntyre. Usually in these matches, they do have the celebrity usually will win. I'm trying to think of the last time a celebrity lost one of these matches. I don't know, but I think Jelly Roll right now. I think Jelly Roll would surprise a lot of folks here. The tag match of Roman Reigns and Jey Uso versus Braun Reigns and Uso, because I think that when we do the inevitable thing, I think is to make Braun Breaker the future, and I think whenever they get to doing Roman Reigns and Braun Breaker has to go over to then. So I think it's better for Braun to lose the tag match, but win the singles match. So I'm gonna pick Roman Reigns and Jey Uso. For the women's tag team championship, Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez takes on Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss. I obviously think they're gonna put this on Charlotte and Alexa. I think this is good work here. Charlotte has found some newfound baby facedom, and who knows if that's because of the article that she wrote in Players Tribune. Who knows if that's just because she's not gonna be fighting for a singles title. What some people like to say is they like some stars to go on side quests, which is why we're hearing a lot of Rhea Hogan and Becky Hogan, and I think hopefully that stops now with the passing of Hulk Hogan. Well, actually, it's not probably not stop because half the audience hates Hulk Hogan, so it may not stop. But yeah, but I really think they're gonna put Charlotte and Alexa. And again, this is a good way to try to get the tag team titles back into some kind of standing. If Charlotte and Alexa can't do it, then they really need to get rid of the tag team titles, because you're now with the Intercontinental and United States Women's titles happen. You have your mid card titles. That's okay. The women don't need everything the men have. For the women's championship, we have Tiffany Stratton versus Jade Cargill. I think this is really the match. Jade Cargill wins here. I think she does. And then of course I gotta think this is gonna lead to the obviously a match between Jade and Bianca. When Bianca comes back from her broken finger, which by the way, she broke her finger at WrestleMania, and so it must have been a horrific injury for her to go this long. And so now in the match that we're all seeing, I don't know if this is going to be the main. Either this will be the main event, or the Roman Reigns Jey Uso tag match will be the main event. If I was me, I would be putting Reigns and Uso because they're the bigger stars. But I would understand if the World Heavyweight Championship is the main event, because we could have some shenanigans here. It's Gunther, the champion, taking on CM Punk. So we all know about Seth Rollins and the injury that happened at Saturday Night's main event. They've been very iffy on the situation of giving them the exact timetable, anything like that, and then maybe by design, because I think what we have here is we have four options of having here, right? The first option is obviously the match just goes on as it is, and one of the two win, right? Nothing like that. Then I think we have option two. We have the option two of Seth Rollins screwing CM Punk again from getting a championship. He does that by sending down his guys, Breaker and Bronson. That could be it. The third one is Seth Rollins is there, but he's on crutches. He's injured. He's still injured, but he still is doing all he can to make sure CM Punk does not become a champion. And he still, and even while him being injured, he cost CM Punk the championship. That's option 3. And option 4, which is what a lot of people are saying, that this injury has all been a work. And at some point during that match, we're going to hear the Seth Rollins music, And Seth Rollins is going to come down, show that he is healthy, and cash in during the match and win the World Heavyweight Championship. We have 4 options there. All those options could happen. I'm not going to predict because those options happen. I'm just going to predict the winner of this match. And you want to talk about side quests? Gunther needs side quests more than anyone. He really does. He needs side quests more than anyone. And in fact, I think a great side quest would be him becoming the United States champion and doing for the United States Championship what he did for the Intercontinental Championship. So I may be thinking with my heart here than my head, but I'm gonna go CM Punk becomes the new World Heavyweight Champion. I guess if there is a 5th option, there is the option that CM Punk wins and then Seth Rollins cash in after the match. So there is that. So now on to WrestleMania Sunday. Okay, so let's talk about SummerSlam Sunday. If I said WrestleMania Sunday in the past, you know I'm crazy. Okay, please forgive me. The WWE Tag Team 16 Tables, Ladders, and Chairs match. Listen, I thought they were pushing it with the 4 teams. I thought they were pushing it with the 4 teams, right? Was it 4 teams? It might have been 14. Well, it was they had a 16 ladder match for WrestleMania 40. I think the TLC match that they had on SmackDown was 3. It was only DIY, Profits, and Motor City Machine Guns. So it was only those. But I think they're pushing at this, so I am hoping for safety from these people. It's going to be really interesting how they line up this show. We know that John Cena, Cody Rhodes is going to be the main event, but we have some matches here that can be total bangers. So everything like that. So what do? Do you put on the TLC match first to get everybody hyped? Because listen, I think it's. So I don't know. Or do you do the Women's World Championship match next? It's incredible. But as for who I think is gonna win, I think they're gonna keep it on the Wyatts for right now. I think they're gonna keep it on the Wyatts for right now. But I think these 16s are gonna go out and they're gonna try to put on a show and try to make this the greatest TLC match of all time. So the Wyatts are who are choosing to win that match. The Women's World Championship match, I think I just mentioned, Naomi defending against Rhea Ripley and Io Sky Triple Threat match. Can this Triple Threat match live up to the Triple Threat match they had at WrestleMania? I don't know. Naomi's a good worker, but I think Bianca is a better worker. But with Rhea and Io, they can maybe bring Naomi up to a level. As for who I think will win, I think this is Naomi. I don't think you take the title off of Naomi right now, and I actually don't think you take the title off of Naomi even at like the Clash in Paris. And I think again, like I talked about, Triple H always looks at Rhea Ripley as one of the best. So even though Stephanie versus Rhea at Crown Jewel, which is in Australia this year, could be an amazing, would be an amazing main event for Crown Jewel. Let's not Jey Uso Naomi. Let's give her a bit of a run. So her holding the title from July till October, I think is a nice run for Naomi. And having to lose to Rhea in her hometown is no big deal. So I'm picking Naomi to win. The Women's Intercontinental Championship match. Becky Lynch versus Lyra Valkyria. This is a no disqualification, no count out match. And with the stuff that's been going on with Bayley, a lot of people are predicting a Bayley heel turn, which could very well happen. And then she could align herself with Becky Lynch. Well, so could that happen? Maybe, maybe not. Part of me wonders whether or not Bayley's gonna do something with what's her face, Cardi B. If that's gonna go down. So I don't know. She's the official host of SummerSlam. Even though she's been on commercial, but she hasn't been nowhere near what's been going on. And I think there's like a kickoff thing for, I don't know if it's happening now or anything like that, but there's some type of kickoff thing. And there's a lot of things. So, but yeah, I would love to see Lyra get this again. Because I think they have made Lyra, into something special. I think that's what this was all about, trying to make another star, to have in the thing. But I also think having Becky Lynch hold that championship. And here's the thing: what do you do with Becky Lynch if she does it in the Intercontinental Championship? Yes, she can go on side quests as well. But do you have Bayley and Becky? Go after Alexa and Charlotte and have them feud. That would actually be interesting. Now that I think about it, Bayley does turn heel. Becky loses the title. Bayley does turn heel, and then Becky and Bayley, they come together, form a tag team, and then you have matches with her, with Alexa and Charlotte, and that's a feud for the next 2 or 3 months. To put status on those women's titles. That could be good. But I think, yeah. See, I just think the no DQ, no count out thing is what is going to do something here. I do think Bayley will turn heel here, will help Becky Lynch. So I'm going to pick Becky Lynch here. I do it reluctantly because I think I think Lyra should win, but I don't know if they will give her to her. Hopefully I'll be surprised. Nasty's championship match in a steel cage: Solo Sikoa versus Jacob Fatu. To me here, Jacob Fatu gets it here. I think they gave Solo a little run, a surprise victory, and a champions to debut Talatanga. But inside the steel cage, I think Jacob Fatu gets here. Then the Continental title match between Dominic Mysterio and AJ Styles. See, this could be interesting because this could go either way. You could keep, with the theory of, the whole Judgment Day thing. JD and Finn, they still have their titles, but Roxanne and Raquel lose theirs, and then Dominic can lose his title. And that could be more a part of the whole Judgment Day saga. But again, I think maybe I'd like to see Dominic Mysterio hold it for a little bit longer. Hold the title for a little bit longer. It would be very interesting. But also with AJ Styles, I think winding down, this could be a good way for him to hold it. Hold the Intercontinental Championship maybe until WrestleMania. I think it'd be interesting. So boy, some of these have been. The night 2 has been tough to pick. But I think I'm gonna go with AJ Styles. I think AJ Styles wins this. And then here's a toughest one to pick in a street fight for the WWE Championship: John Cena versus Cody Rhodes. Some people have been talking about, well, this is a street fight because they're gonna get bloody. Maybe Cody gets bloody. I don't think Cena gets bloody. Cena is doing movies and he's doing press and stuff. He can't be on the Today Show with a bandage on his forehead because he gigged himself in a street fight. I don't think that's going to happen. I really don't. I'll be surprised if that happens. I'll be surprised if there's any type of blood. Because when they've used blood, they've used it sparingly, and they've used it to make an impact. As I talked about during the review with Uso and Jimmy Uso, Jay Uso, and the Gunther angle in London. And then, obviously, there's, going back to the Elimination Chamber, they used blood there, again, to, make the John Cena heel turn feel even, more. So I don't know if you're going to use it here. But here's what I do think. We talked about Travis Scott. I think Travis Scott needs to make his last and final appearance here, because he's been involved in this from the beginning. And hindsight says maybe he never should have been involved. They had T-shirts made for him because he was going to be part of a tag match. At the Money in the Bank. But again, him being wishy-washy and him not taking to the business like Bad Bunny has, like Jelly Roll apparently has, like Logan Paul did. It's caused to them kind of to pivot. But I think he needs to be here. I think he needs to be here one last time. And I kind of think The Rock needs to be here as well. Some people are going to want a double turn. Cody to turn heel and Cena to turn back face. Some people think Cody Rhodes needs to get the title back here. But for me, I think it's much more interesting. It's much more interesting for John Cena to go the entire year as champion, and then for him to lose the title in his very last match. That's what I think is more interesting. It's a more interesting thing. Now, I will say this: there's not too many dates left. I think after this, I think he has 10 or 11 dates left, and we have August, September, October, November. We have 5 months. 10 dates over 5 months. Being the WWE champion, does that make sense? But then we have Cody Rhodes, right? We have Cody Rhodes. He's going off to do a Street Fighter with Akuma. With a Street Fighter, because he's going to be part of Street Fighter. He's playing Gal. And also we've got, Roman Reigns playing Akuma. So when are they going to start filming? And then, of course, we can also do the thing where we get swerved again, and Seth Rollins, who is not injured, cashes in on this match and becomes the WWE champion, which I would be okay with. So there's many ways, but I'm not predicting that. I'm just predicting the match. And I think the better story is John Cena holding the championship. So I think with shenanigans from Rock and or Travis Scott, John Cena will beat Cody Rhodes in the street fight and retain the WWE title. So there you have it. Really quick here. Let me go over recap the predictions. SummerSlam Saturday. Karrion Kross beats Sami Zayn. Jelly Roll and Randy Orton beats Logan Paul and Drew McIntyre. By the way, I forgot to say, even if Drew McIntyre can make it, he's had visa issues, so he may not be there. Roman Reigns and Jey Uso will defeat the Bronsons, Bronson Breakker and Bronson Reed. Charlotte Flair, Alexa Bliss wins the WWE Women's Tag Team titles. Jade Cargill will become your new Women's WWE Champion, and CM Punk will become the new World Heavyweight Champion. SummerSlam Sunday, the Wyatts will retain the tag titles in a TLC match. Naomi will retain her World Women's Championship. Becky Lynch will retain the Intercontinental Women's Championship. Jacob Fatu will regain the Men's United States Championship. AJ Styles will become the new Intercontinental Champion, and John Cena will retain the undisputed WWE Championship. So there you have it, guys, the predictions video. Now let's wrap up this very long video, which I thank all of you guys for watching. If you've watched the entire 90 plus minutes of this, I appreciate it so much. Alright guys, that's going to be it for this episode of That to Shoot. Once again, I thank you guys. If you have watched all 90 plus minutes of this video, I thank you so much for doing so. Post your comments down below. Tell me what you guys think. Let me know what you guys think of WWE Unreal if you've watched it. And of course, let me know what you think about my predictions. Give me your predictions of what's going to happen on SummerSlam. Like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching. This is your boy, AJTRIP, signing off. As always, be good to each other, y'all. Be careful out there. And I am out.